Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we start, I would like to draw your attention to what I can offer you as a master coach. I can help you to focus on your why with clarity, uniting your passion with your purpose with a plan to create the life you truly desire. Book a free 20-minute coaching call right now via calendly.com/Amy Rowlandson/call, and we can take it from there. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by the one and only Chantal Cornelius. Welcome.
Thank you, Amy. Lovely to see you. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. And when I say the one and only, obviously there is only one of you, but I think there is actually only one Chantal Cornelius. Is that not right?
It's not quite right. It's very nearly. I have found, I think, 4 others on LinkedIn with the spelling that I have. I have the French spelling Chantal, which apparently is quite unusual. So yeah, there are 4 or 5 of us. I'm the only one in the UK. The others are in various other parts of the world. So yeah.
Okay, well, let's see how many other Chantal Corneliuses I can get on the show. But you are the first.
Woohoo! That's good.
All good. So what is it you're up to at the moment?
What am I up to? Lovely question. I've been running my business Appletree for 22 and a bit years, and it's evolved. It's at quite an exciting stage now because I am writing my 3rd book. I've written 2 books already about marketing. My 3rd one is about the emotions behind why people buy, in a nutshell, and it's a labor of love at the moment. I'm about halfway through it, but it's going to be published in 2023. So within the next sort of 6 or 8 months of talking to you now, I am also reshaping part of my business. I do a lot of mentoring with clients, which I love doing. I advise them on their marketing and guide them on the right direction to go. I'm looking to be working with some bigger businesses and be speaking and training more on the emotional work that I'm researching for my book, and doing a lot more speaking on that. So that's we're January now when we're having this conversation, and I've spent quite a bit of time already this month planning for the rest of this year, looking at where to go and what to do and how to do it. So that's all been quite fun. Busy.
Marketing. How did you even start with marketing?
Another great question. I fell off a horse and fell into a job in marketing. I went to university and did agriculture because I was convinced that was what I wanted to do. And I got halfway through the 3-year course and thought, actually, I don't think this is what I'm meant to be doing. I spent more time riding horses in my final year than studying. And so I went off to train to be a riding instructor when I finished. And my thought was, I'll just do this for a year until I figure out what to do with my life. And 1 year turned into 3. And by the end of that, I had actually become sick of being bitten, trodden on, kicked, bucked off other people's horses. And so I jacked it all in. And I actually went to do a training course in Oxford, where I was living, on how to use a computer, how to touch type. I was in my mid-20s, I suppose. It was in the mid-90s. And I hadn't really used a computer, and all the jobs said, well, you have to be able to touch type and use a word processor. So I went and learned how to do things like Word and Excel. And the place where I was doing the training, the guy who ran it also owned a private business college in Oxford. And he saw me there one day. I'd been helping out. I'd been writing some press releases for them and doing posters. And he said, do you want a job in marketing? It's completely out of the blue. And I said, I've never done it before. And he said, I'll train you. And one of the courses we ran at the college was the Chartered Institute of Marketing diploma. So I went through that part-time, and actually one day went, oh, I quite like this. I think this is maybe what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's how I got into marketing. And I worked for a couple of different companies for about 5 years until 2000 when I decided to set up my own business.
And what I love is that you could never quite let go of the agricultural element by calling it Appletree Marketing.
The apple tree actually came because the house I was living in when I set the business up, we had a massive ancient apple tree in the garden. And a friend of mine had said, well, you need a company name that begins with A, because then you'll be at the top of all the alphabetical listings. It doesn't always work because sometimes they list you by person's name or surname or whatever. And I was literally sitting in the garden one day thinking, what on earth do I call my business? And I was sitting on the grass under the apple tree, and I looked up and went, oh, apple tree, there we go. I also wanted a name that didn't say anything about what I did. I started out in the business as a freelance copywriter, and I wanted a name that I could be flexible. It was also fun because I had a logo designed. It's a green tree with a blue apple, and I've had that logo for over 22 years, and I'm never going to change it. And it's been fun using the blue and green because it's marketing. It's all about standing out and doing something different. So yeah, Appletree has been kind of handy. And then 16 years ago, I moved to a new house that was already called Appletree Cottage. So I saw the photo, saw the name, said, that's my house, I'm having it. And I've been here ever since. My office is in the garden and I'm never leaving. And I have 5 apple trees here, which is why this place was called Appletree Cottage.
I love that. I love it. It's very Newtonian to be sitting under a tree and looking up and have this epiphany moment of the business name.
Yeah.
But then is it sort of the coincidence or serendipity that you then spy a house with the same name? I mean, it was obviously meant to be, right?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in serendipity. And I had a friend at the time she was an estate agent. And I said to her what I had on my shopping list of a 3-bedroom house with a stable and a paddock for the horse and an office space and space for garage and what have you. And she came to me one day about 6 months after I'd given her that list, and she said, I found it. It's not even on the market yet, but I found it, and here are the photos, and it's called Appletree Cottage. And the guy we bought it from, he was going to sell it, but it took a year before we could move in because he was umming and ahhing. He was building another house. But I fell in love with it, not just from the name. It just came down here for the first time and completely fell in love with it. And that passion and that positivity is what got us here, because he kept saying, oh, you can't have it for another 5 years. I need to build my new house, or you can have it, but you can rent it from me, or you can buy it and then I'm going to rent it back from you for 5 years. And there were all sorts of possible snags and hiccups. And at every turn, whenever anyone said things like, well, maybe we can't afford it, maybe it's not going to happen, I said, I don't care, we're having that house. I was utterly determined. So there's some serendipity and there's some determination thrown in that, yeah, I was going to move here.
And what I've just picked up on there is that you're currently writing a book about the emotions behind why people buy. Now, your house was an emotional purchase.
Yeah, completely. You've just made me realize I probably need to write about my book write about my house in the book. I did write about it in my second book, which is about my first 10 years in business, but it probably needs to go in there as well. Because, yeah, I suspect that a lot of the book is all about how in business we need better ways of standing out and showing how we're different to our competitors. Old-fashioned marketing says, well, you have to say that you're better or cheaper or faster or the only one or whatever. And where there is a massive gap, I think, is the emotional connection. And even estate agents are missing it because they don't talk enough about, they use the word property, which I hate. Would you like to come and view the property? No, I'd like to come and view my potential new home. And so writing about the emotions, I've always focused on working with service businesses, and actually estate agents, you're buying a house, but it's a service. So yeah, maybe I need to, there's another story. I can write about estate agents as well, and how you can use these emotional connections, these emotional strategies to help people buy houses and to sell them the right ones.
So they are strategies, and knowing that people are using these strategies to market their business. how do we spot them as a consumer? And how do we tap into where they might be wanting to connect to us for good reasons, but also avoid the ones where we are being emotionally misguided?
Okay. What I've found very interesting is that most businesses are not using any sort of, or the right amount of emotional connection to make their business stand out. They are very old-fashioned, very feature-driven. There may be some benefits thrown in. The benefit of buying this product or service is, but there's far too much about features. It's blue, it costs this much, it's this big. What I want to do really is get my book to service businesses to help them to stand out, help them to get that emotional connection across. So yeah, as a consumer, you probably won't see very many service businesses at all using any sort of emotional connection in order to help them stand out. We had a plumber here recently, and his company name is Taps and Toilets. We had a leaking system. That's what we needed, and we found him online. But there was nothing in his marketing that said, I will come, I will get the job done, I will fix it, I will go away and leave you in peace. And that is the emotional connection I call certainty. And I could see that that's what he could be promoting on, but he just talked about taps and toilets and cisterns and pipes and all the technical stuff of loos, which I'm not really interested in. I just wanted it fixed. So on the whole, at the moment, you won't see this around. What you will see is people using kind of the negative emotions or using it a bit manipulatively. It happens a lot where, for instance, an insurance company might talk about the disaster of your home burning down, and they try to sell to us on the kind of the shock factor. Whereas actually, if they were talking to us about how much our homes mean to us and how much we love them and how devastated we might be if we lost our home through flood or fire, that would be a better way of doing it. But yet at the moment, I don't see very much of it at all, which is why I have to write this book and get it out there to the world.
So you talked about things being benefit driven or feature driven. Let's talk about purpose driven, because that's why we're here. We're talking about purpose. And it sounds like this is what your book is driving you from, that position of purpose.
It is, because a few years ago, I worked out with the help of a brilliant coach that my purpose, the reason I'm here, is to help and support other people. It's what I do. And there are all sorts of different ways in which I can do this. And I wrote a book 10, 11 years ago called Magnetic Marketing. And that was great because that was part of my purpose. That still helps me to help and support other people. But it got to the stage where I wanted to go further. And it was actually one of my business mentors who said, you should be writing more about this element of it. So yeah, it does drive me. I'm not expecting to make £1 million from selling this book. I'm hoping to sell a few copies, but I'm using it more. I will probably give away far too many copies, but if I can help more small business owners and bigger businesses too, to really work out what makes them different and give them a better sense of where they're going with their business, that's good. If it also means that more businesses that are emotionally driven and purpose driven, if they do better, that's great, because this is not material that is for companies that want to make a shed load of money. It's for people who want to make a difference. Whenever I ask my clients, I have a process that I take clients through, potential clients, and the majority of them who I end up working with, one of their big drivers is they say, I want to make a difference. So my book is about helping them to make a difference. If somebody came to me and said, could you help me make $1 million? I'd probably go, no. Well, I probably could, but no, that's not what drives me. It's much more about helping and supporting people.
What does make a difference mean to you?
Make a difference is it's about more than me. It's about me shining a light on other people. I had a mentoring call with a client earlier today, and mostly it was supposed to be about marketing, and it was, because that's what I do, but mostly it was about supporting her, motivating her, and having her go, oh, I do know what I'm doing with marketing. Right, I'm going to get back out there and do it. She's had a bit of a break, been away from business for a while. So making a difference for me is very much on a personal level. I love working one-to-one with clients. And when they have moments where they go, oh, no, oh, I get it. Oh, that's what makes me different. Or, yes, I can do this. That's fabulous. I have a lot of clients who come back to me and tell me about the successes they've had. And they tell me about the successes that their clients have had. So there's a ripple effect going on, and that for me is making a difference. So it's not just me sitting here going, here's how to do your marketing. It's my clients going out and doing great marketing, building successful businesses, and then them helping other people. So yeah, ripples out.
I'm all about ripples, that's for sure. I love the ripples. So fantastic. Tell me about a little bit more about how you stay on track, the focus element of your purpose.
It's where I go back to when I have a bit of a wobble, when I have a bit of a, why am I doing this? Or, oh, it's raining again. I have to remind myself that it's about helping and supporting. This year, 2023, is an interesting one for me, because I decided at the very end of last year, actually, that this year would be my year of no. I had a year of yes a couple of years ago, and I had all sorts of fun. It was a big personal upheaval year for me. Had a lot of fun going off and exploring and doing different stuff. This year, I've realized that I've got an awful lot going on in my life, and I actually need to simplify it. So I've got some quite big goals that I want to achieve by the end of this year and the end of the following year. So if somebody comes along to me and says, got this great opportunity, I'm thinking, will it get me to where I want to get to? If yes, then I will explore it. If no, then the answer is no, I'm sorry, it's not for me right now. Which also means that if somebody comes along and says, oh, can you help me do such and such? If it doesn't tie in with my purpose, the answer is very definitely going to be no. I have a sheet just over there on the wall in my office that says, I do not work with clients if, and on that list, one of them is if it's only about the money. You know, somebody might come to me and say, I'm going to pay you £10,000 to do such and such. If it doesn't fit with my purpose, I won't do it. I do turn work away. I turn businesses away if I don't want to work with them, if they're not right for me, if they're not sure what their purpose is, or if they're not actually making a difference, I will walk away. So I have lots of little tools and tricks, but it's for keeping on purpose. But it's mostly thinking, okay, what is my purpose? Why am I doing this? And where am I going with it? And those two kind of bring me back to go yes or no.
And I have two questions. The first one is, where is it you're going? Where is it you want to go? You mentioned, will it get me to where I want to go? Where is this magical place, Chantal?
I knew you were going to ask that. This magical place is Bali. So there is a global speaking conference in Bali I think it's September 2024. I am incredibly lucky in that I get a free ticket to attend. I want more than that, though. I want to be there in a bigger capacity. I want to be speaking on stage. I want to be known. I want to be there to help and support people. So that's the big 2-year goal. The big 1-year goal is publish my book and then be speaking at the Professional Speaking Association's annual conference in October 2023. So I've got the 2-year goal of Bali. I love the way you said this magical place, because it is. I went years ago when I was 19 and loved it. So we're going to go back. We're going to have a holiday beforehand and then go to the conference. So yeah, that's the magical place of the 2-year goal.
I love that.
But also in that is I haven't done an awful lot of travel recently, partly because of lockdowns and COVID and all that, but also because of personal changes. I want to get back into having more adventures and going traveling. So a lot of my business is about working hard, earning the money that I need through supporting other people so that I can go off and have adventures. And if those adventures inspire people, people say, you're going skiing again, that's amazing. And a lot of people find it quite inspiring that I have lots of holidays. So yeah, lots of adventures coming up, lots of magical places to visit.
And what would you say the why behind the why of helping and supporting other people? What would you say the reason for that is? What drives it?
Nobody's ever asked me that before. The reason for the big pause is there is one word that's coming into my head, and it's my mum, who died 5.5 years ago. She was a force of nature. She was 5'2" ferociousness. She was just, sorry, mother, but you were. She was just astounding, absolutely amazing lady. She died way before she should have done, but she was a massive inspiration to me. She had when we were kids, she had the added hassle of, I have a sister and then stepbrothers and sisters, and when I was quite little, she had the job of looking after all 5 of us, which is never easy. But she had this motto of Squaddy, SQODI, simply a question of doing it, something like that. I can't remember the exact letters, but it was simply a question of doing it, Squaddy. So if and I still get this voice in my head, like, how do I do that? Or why should I? Squaddy, just get on with it. You'll find a way. Just do it. Mum had lived her life looking after other people. She divorced my father to keep me and my sister safe. She got a job as a live-in housekeeper because we were homeless when I was 5, and she needed somewhere for a home, a roof over her head for her little girls. She did so much for us. But she also did so much for everyone else. I don't know people say to me, I don't know where you find the energy from. Well, it was from my mum. She was in the WI and she ran a business, and she just did so much for other people all the time, and until she couldn't. I think she's my inspiration.
Oh, I love that. And
I'm actually sitting here. Well, you can't see it on the video, but I'm sitting here with a very big, baggy, fleecy purple cardigan over my knees because it's really cold. And it's been in my office for a few years. When we cleared out the house, when Dad died, I found it. I'm having that. It's my mum's, and I've got it over my knee, and I have it in the office all the time. So.
Oh, that's lovely. And it is incredible when you look behind the surface and you recognize actually there's been this huge inspiration that is driving what I do, and whether consciously or subconsciously you're aware of it, when you just take a moment to think about it, it's like, wow, okay. And you make that connection. And she clearly was the original Nike strapline of just do it, way ahead of their advertising company. So clearly there was also this sort of marketing microscript element of her as well, which was to make things very clear and short and to the point.
Yeah, definitely. Very definitely. I'd never really thought about it like that. She always called herself a bear of little brain, Pooh Bear. And I remember it's about 2014, I was working with a new business consultant, and we'd worked out a new, my business was going through a bit of an upheaval at the time and needed some serious looking at. And Jonathan and Patrick and I, we worked out this new business plan, and I went out for supper one night with my mum and dad, and I said, I've got this new business plan. And Mum said, bear of little brain, I won't understand it. I drew it on a napkin in the pub, and it became known as the napkin business plan. And I think from then on, if I can't draw out my business plan on a napkin, and it's too complicated. And just that realization of for me being able to simplify it to show Mum what it meant, and for her to get it, that has driven me in the marketing I help my clients with. Keep it simple, take the jargon and the waffle out, think about who the client is. And I'm having to do this a lot with writing the book, be thinking about who's going to be reading the book, and make sure that I'm not. When I first started writing the book, I realized I was going much too sort of highbrow, and I've really scaled it down. And sometimes I'm doing the writing, I'm thinking, it sounds a bit basic. And then I think, but I've been researching this for 7 years, and somebody else is going to be reading it for the first time. They've got to be able to just pick it up and understand it. So I learned a lot from my mum, definitely.
Yeah, and A.A. Milne, clearly, because, Winnie the Pooh is an incredible inspiration, and the messages in those books were phenomenal. And I'm thinking now, like, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. So, that Pooh Bear brain actually, it was way smarter than he let on.
Definitely, very definitely, yes.
And if that's your mum, then even more so. So
Mhm.
tell me more, Chantal, tell me more about what it is that the focus on why means to you and the legacy that you want to leave or to live.
I think without a focus on why, and without a focus on why, there are no goals. And without goals, there's no direction. I remember doing a course quite a few years ago, and on the last day of the course, it was kind of a personal development thing. And on the last day, we were allowed to invite people, and I invited my mum and dad. And I remember my coach at the time saying to my dad, who was probably in his 70s, what are your plans? What are your goals for the rest of your life? And my dad laughed and said, why would I have goals at this age? And I remember thinking that was quite sad, because I'm going to be having goals up until I'm about 95, whenever it is I die falling off a horse. So I think without goals, we meander, and it's difficult to run a business without goals. I think also it's difficult to have a life without goals. You know, I have goals of how many weeks of skiing I want to do a year, and how many other holidays, and what I want to achieve with my horse, and what I want to do with my business. So I need those goals to keep me going. But in order to set the goals, I think if you don't have a why and you don't have a purpose, it would be very difficult to set goals, and difficult to set the right ones, because you could end up setting goals that other people impose on you. Now, other people saying, oh, you should do such and such. The trouble I've got into in the 22 years of business, when other people, friends, relatives, business coaches have said, right, what you should do is, and I've gone, okay, and come out the other side going, flipping out, that was a waste of time and money. So I don't listen to other people's advice anymore, particularly not when it comes to setting goals. It's so I'm doing this because this is what I want to do, and this is what's important to me. So yeah, there's too much meandering without goals, and no goals without purpose. That's what I think, anyway.
And it's interesting you mentioned that you had a mentor who helped you to define your purpose from a perspective of articulating it, because it was probably already there, but it was just vocalizing it out loud to others, but also to yourself. Was there a shift for you in that moment, or was it a case of, or how did you feel?
There was a shift. I'm a very visual person, and I have my coach Ian talks about a purpose triangle, and he has this brilliant process that he takes clients through, and we work through it. And on my wall in the office, I have my purpose triangle. It's actually a purpose triangle because there's a cat at the top. Get it? Purpose. But sorting that out, so having it was fun creating it with him and cutting out and sticking down, and it's on the wall, so it's a bit of a reminder. But I also looked at it and went, oh, that's what I do. You know, it's not earth-shattering. My purpose is not to get men on the moon or to cure cancer. My purpose is to help and support other people. Now, if that helps get people on the moon or helps cure cancer, then great. But I think I was struggling when I did this work with Ian, because I was struggling to know what I was supposed to be doing and where I was supposed to be going. And it was just a kind of a bit of a, oh, actually, that's quite simple. I like that. And it just made the path much clearer, very definitely. Yeah, bit of a light bulb moment.
Now, I've heard of a porpoise, but I haven't heard of a purpose. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean,
I collect Christmas cards, birthday cards, old calendars. I cut out pictures. I stick them on things. I make birthday cards for people. And in my collection of goodies, when I was doing this kind of collage, I found a little, I think it's something that it's got a toothpick on it and a little picture, a little sparkly cat. I think you're supposed to stick it in a cake or something, but it's stuck on the top of my purpose triangle. Purpose.
So tell me, passion and positivity was something that you said earlier, and in using it in the emotion of the work and the purchasing and in the buying of products and services. Passion and productivity and positivity for you. Explain why that's a driver, why that's important.
It's what gets me out of bed in the morning, I think. If I love running my own business because it gives me the freedom to do what I love doing. I was never very good at working for anybody else. I only ever managed to work for anyone else for about 18 months. I think that was the longest I managed. And then I got sacked or made redundant, or I walked out in a huff because I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. Whereas now, when I wake up in the morning, and if it's cold or it's raining or I've got a hangover, there is still that, yeah, but there's stuff to do, and there's stuff that I want to do, and there's stuff that I might have half a dozen calls booked in with clients or whatever, but I still have the freedom to say, yes, I am going to do them, or no, I'm not, or actually the sun's shining, I'm going to go riding today instead. So I think having the freedom of my business, I don't know, I guess I am really passionate about helping and supporting other people. So that's what keeps me going as well. So it's not just about having a purpose, it's about having a purpose that you truly connect to, that you will fight for. And that, you know, I guess it's part of my values, which is why if somebody comes along and says, will you help me to promote cigarettes or guns, whatever? No, absolutely not, because it's not helping anyone else. Am I answering the question?
Yeah. And well, what I was also just reflecting on was how being thrown off a horse started your career. And you're also saying that it's actually going to end your life because you're going to be thrown off your. So your horses are defining your lifespan for you and the way that you're living your life. And knowing that they're incredible sentient animals. What is it that you are speaking to them about in this way?
Ooh, I have two horses, and my older horse, who at the time of talking to you now is in the middle of a 6-month rest break because she's injured. But I used to go out on long rides with her, and she must have got bored stupid by listening to me wittering on about my business. Being able to go out riding, go out for an hour or two, was a fabulous way to clear my mind. I would, you know, people talk about having ideas in the shower. My good ideas come to me when I'm riding. I solve problems when I'm riding because I'm not having to think about anything else. So she's been fabulous for that. And at that point, she walks into view. They're in a field. I'm really lucky. They're in a field just pretty much outside my office window, and she's just walked into view. My other horse is young. I've only had her for about 4 months, and she's very different. I wanted something very different. She's learning. She's a baby, and what I've had to do with her is go right back to basics, and not expect to be able to go and canter around a field, and not expect to be able to ride her past a bus. It's a complete change, and I have to be really patient with her. And if she wants to stop and look at something, we stop and look, and then I say, okay, come on, let's go. The going back to basics is really interesting, because I think that's where I am with my book as well. And it's the same with marketing. It's about keeping it simple, not overcomplicating it. And it's about making tiny improvements. I have a fabulous client who's a triathlete, and she talks about millimeter improvements. And Maisie and I are making millimeter improvements every day. Something gets a little bit better by a couple of millimeters or a couple of centimeters. So. But also she's a long-term project. She's 5, and I will probably still be competing and riding her in 15 years. So I need to look after her now to make sure she kind of goes all the way through. I'm not necessarily planning to die falling off a horse at 95, but I if I can still be riding at 95, I'd like to be like the Queen, going out for quiet rides on gentle ponies in my dotage.
Oh, you just brought back that image of that lovely little fell pony at the funeral. Oh my goodness, that broke me.
That was heart melting stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, give me goosebumps again. But it is about this partnership that you have with people, but also with animals, and the bonds that you form. And very often when people have come on the show and they've talked about the bonds they've had with animals, they have been incredible. And we have had one horrendous horse riding accident back with Sam Farrow quite a few episodes ago now. And that has stopped her from riding forever because it was just so traumatic.
Yeah.
But there are other people who have formed relationships, and I went on a incredible leadership day with horses, and they can teach you so much, because you go into that arena and you cannot fake anything with a horse, because they will see it coming a mile away. Not that I was trying to fake anything, but just that you have to be in there as your entire self. So knowing that, you can be vulnerable, you can be who you are, and if you're not, the horse will find you out. What would you say the biggest lessons you've learned have been from your riding and being with your beautiful horses?
Definitely about authenticity. You can't hide anything from a horse. You can go up to a horse going, "I'm confident," and the horse goes, "No, you're not," and boots you out of the way. They just know. You can try to fake it until you make it, and they will see right through you, which is really quite funny. I've been on training courses where I've watched people go and go, "Oh yes, I can do this," and the horse like, "No chance." With Maisie, my young horse, I realised at the beginning of the year that I was getting really nervous when I was riding her. And actually, I thought she was being silly in traffic. And I started kind of analysing things and thinking, no, hang on, it's not her, it's me. And I've actually narrowed it down to 1/4 mile stretch of road where if a car comes from behind us going faster than I'd like it to, I tense up. And so she tenses up. And I've actually managed to narrow it down to that one small track of road. And it's only going in one direction. It's only when they're coming past me down the hill. Going up the hill the other way, they're fine, because they all slow down because they can't see past us. So it was really interesting. I've learned with horses that you can't be thinking about what's the horse doing wrong. It's what am I doing that needs to change. And that is actually a huge lesson for life and business and everything as well. It's not about blaming the horse or the other person. It's okay, what do I need to do differently? And I've had some really lovely rides with her. I got to the point thinking, I don't really want to ride her. And I was putting it off. I would ride, but I'd put it off until the afternoon. I was out first thing this morning. It was freezing cold and it was gorgeous. And I was really looking forward to riding. But I'm still having to work on, we went up the hill today, not down the hill, but I'm still having to, every time I hear a car, I think, get out of your head, get the breath down into your body, big belly breath. And I relax and she goes, "Oh yeah, it's all fine." So yeah, they are amazing teachers about all sorts. You can't rush it either. You can't make a horse do anything. You have to ask nicely, and you have to know how to ask. And sometimes you have to ask 2 or 3 times, and then you have to say thank you when they do it.
And there's a reason why. Yeah, they are brilliant teachers, and there's a reason why you say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's the same with dogs. I mean, you're a dog owner, you're a cat owner. In fact, you've got an entire menagerie in Appletree Cottage. But it is the same with dogs as well. A lot of people talk about the training of dogs and say, "Oh, my dog's really badly behaved." It's like, no, just a bad trainer.
Yeah, I tend to laugh when I see badly behaved in inverted commas dogs. It's not them, it's the owners or the training that they haven't had. So they're good teachers too.
So Birmingham in 2023, here you come. Bali 2024, a year later. Where's 2025 going to be?
Oh, I haven't even thought that far ahead, Amy. Let me get this next 2 years. What I will probably do though is I will probably get to Birmingham at the end of October this year, and by then I will have the next bit of plan. By then I will have been in business for 25 years. It might be time to stop. I have various charities that I support. It might be time to finish the business and go off and do marketing for one of them. I don't know. This is kind of, I'm calling this chapter 2 of my life. I've just turned 52. Chapter 2 started when I was about 50, and it's exciting. I don't know where it's going in 3 years' time, but watch this space. It's going to be fun.
Amazing. Oh, I love that. Chapter 2. Fantastic. Well, enjoy. There's going to be lots of excitement, I'm sure, with all the traveling and the adventure that you mentioned.
Yep.
Chantal, how could people reach out and get in contact with you, please?
they can get in touch through my website, which is appletreeuk.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. Here's a challenge. Search for Chantal Cornelius, Chantal. That spelling, Cornelius, in the UK, because, I am the only one in the UK, and connect with me there.
Well, I'll put both of those links into the show notes so they'll easily find you. So no problem. Or maybe that spoils the fun of a challenge. But yeah.
Let's go for the challenge and see. Put the website in, but we'll see if they can rise to the challenge of the LinkedIn one. So.
Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing why you do what you do and why you are who you are. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. And I will be seeing you in Birmingham, Bali. So let's see where it will be in 2025 that we also spend our time with the Professional Speaking Association. Do you have some final words for the listeners, please?
Final words. I'm on a mission to change the face of marketing. I'm really tired of marketing that's about features and benefits, marketing that doesn't connect with our clients. We need to listen to our clients. We need to listen to what they're saying, to what they're feeling. We need to really understand what they're feeling and then work with them to provide that, rather than trying to sell something to somebody because we think they ought to have it. So those would be my final words. Help me on my mission. Look out for the book, which will be coming out probably summer or autumn 2023, and help me change the face of marketing.
How has this conversation had an impact on you? What value have you received from tuning in? What are your reflections with actions? Please take a moment to leave me an Apple Podcast or Spotify review sharing how Focus on Why has made a difference to you today. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. To keep it going, simply connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, or join the Focus on Why Facebook group. All the links are in the show notes. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.